So if we want to talk about maybe the checkpoint, how do we know if we do it correctly?
Yep.
And maybe we'll face maybe back to this camera just to show. So if we were going to go, let's say we were, let's say you put your back towards this camera, Steve, just as a visual. And I put this club inside of your
left heel.
Left heel. Yep. Okay. Sorry. I flipped around here.
Yep.
And so from this back view, what we want to reference is where our tailbone moves. Is that correct?
Yep. Right. So a tailbone right here is give or take like right in the middle of my stance.
Yeah.
And when I would swing back, if I did this incorrectly and I swayed my hips to the right, you see how the tailbone moves to the right and I don't have much turn.
That would be the bad.
That's the bad way.
Okay.
Then the proper way to be is as I swing back, my hips would turn. As they turn, they move towards that stick on the ground. So right about now, my tailbone should be right on top of that stick.
Yeah, that's perfect.
From setup to the top of the swing.
And so from that down the line view, we'll be able to see, do that one more time, Steve.
Yeah.
Is this back of the tailbone, from your perspective and from our perspective, your sensation is trying to get this over that stick inside your heel line.
Correct.
Hey guys, Eric here, back outside at the Bethlehem Golf Club. In today's video, we're going to talk about how the hips work in the backswing. In particular, how the hips work for better players versus higher handicap players and the correlations we see that can really help improve your ball striking. As you can see here to my left, Mr. Steve Saracki. You guys hopefully recognize Steve from some of the videos we did last year. We actually did our Draw Every Ball masterclass together, which is available. And Steve and I coach together online at CogornoGolf.com. Steve also coaches in-person lessons at Woodcrest Country Club in New Jersey. If you guys want some in-person lessons, I would highly recommend them. If you do want to work with us online, like we said, we did create CogornoGolf.com to be able to do that. So Steve and I can help look at your swing, build you a personal practice plan, and really give you personalized feedback to get over whatever hump you're facing, maybe break 100, fix your slice, just want to hit the ball better. Steve and I can help there at Cogorno Golf. We'll put all that information in the description down below. So Steve, how the hips work during the backswing.
Yep.
One of the things that we talk about, if we flip-flop spots for a sec, in terms of when members post their swings up and when we teach in person, and one of the correlations between handicap levels would be the way the hips work during the backswing, right?
I would say that the not enough turn for the higher handicap, and also the sway, the pelvis sway. Those would be the two main things. And you could say, if your handicap is 15 or higher or 17 or higher, you're not going to have enough hip turn and you're going to sway. And then you see on the tour, they'll have more hip turn and their hips will be more forward from setup to the top of the backswing. And we see that all the time. And we were talking off camera. I would say 70% or greater of the members that post their swings during the backswing, their hips work too far off the ball. And they don't turn enough during the backswing. And so what we want to talk about here is, okay, right, that's a thing. How do we fix that? What's a nice simple feedback drill that you have? And how someone could go about improving that. And ultimately, Steve, when they improve this part, get their hips not working off the ball as much, improving the hip rotation, the leg work, the overall idea would be better contact. There would be three things that'll happen. You'll have the contact will be more consistent, you'll hit the ball farther, and you'll swing more from the inside.
Those are good things.
So
we would like those.
Three things,
okay. So if we want to talk about maybe the checkpoint, how do we know if we do it correctly? And maybe we'll face maybe back to this camera just to show. So if we were going to go, let's say we were, let's say you put your back towards this camera, Steve, just as a visual. And I put this club inside of your
left heel.
Left heel. Yep. Okay. Sorry. I flipped around here.
And
so from this back view, what we want to reference is where our tailbone moves. Is that correct?
Right. So a tailbone right here is give or take like right in the middle of my stance. And when I would swing back, if I did this incorrectly and I swayed my hips to the right, you see how the tailbone moves to the right and I don't have much turn.
That would be the bad.
That's the bad way. Then the proper way to be is as I swing back, my hips would turn. As they turn, they move towards that stick on the ground. So right about now, my tailbone should be right on top of that stick.
Yeah, that's perfect.
From setup to the top of the swing.
And so from that down the line view, we'll be able to see, do that one more time, Steve. Is this back of the tailbone, from your perspective and from our perspective, your sensation is trying to get this over that stick inside your heel line. Right?
And the way to do that is by how our knee flex works.
Let's flip back this way. So Yeah, let's say as you're feeling more of that, what's going on with the leg motion?
Right, so I'm feeling like my left leg is bending down and my right leg is straightening.
Yeah.
So then from the down the line view, there's going to be a gap in between my knees. Whereas what we see on all the time in lessons and in the online lessons is that the members will sway. They'll sway their hips to the right because they don't work their knees properly. So they'll keep their right knee too flexed, their left knee would work too inwards, and then their pelvis sways off the ball. There's no hip turn. Their hands start lifting up. No power. That's the beginning of like the contact bad, the power bad, and the over the top.
Yeah, not those three good things we said earlier.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
So, Steve, you take a step up to this ball for me for a second.
Yep.
And I want to just pop this in here as another visual.
Yeah.
So as let's say a normal golfer is going through and they're trying to start this process.
Yep.
Say, hey, I know my hips are moving. I want to start to fix it.
Yep.
They set the stick on the ground, just inside the trail.
Right by your heel. Right by your heel, yeah, left heel.
They're feeling their tailbone in the back, working towards the target, and they're accomplishing that really by changing the flex of the legs as the main priority.
They might feel like this. They might feel like their right leg straightens and their hips turn to move forward. They might literally feel that this much.
Right.
But then when they take their picture, it'll look standard.
It'll look normal.
Just because if they've been swaying so much to the right before, you got to have them do
exaggerate the opposite.
Right, exaggerate the opposite.
And would you say as a checkpoint too, then you take your setup again, Steve? I would say a couple checkpoints that would help here. If there were a wall, right, or an object on your trail hip, if you do this successfully, there should be some space created, right?
Yeah, I'll swing back, right?
Yeah, go ahead and do the correct version. Right. So there would be a gap there. Not a huge gap, but a gap.
Say 2 inches or so.
Yeah, between where you started.
Yep.
And the second point, if a golfer was like, hey, how do I know if I'm overdoing it?
Yep.
Perhaps if you do an overdoing version.
Well, their hips would start moving too far forward and their leg might be even too straight too fast. So
exactly.
Forward too fast.
Maybe we'll say the left hip gets too far forward of like the left heel or left foot.
That's
right?
fair.
Outside that wall.
That's fair, yeah.
So as it's turning, the trail hip comes off the wall a little, and then this lead hip isn't going to go past.
It stays right on it.
Yeah, okay, perfect. And so in terms of practicing with this would be one where we do a couple rehearsals. It's that you confirm with video, start to feel the difference. And when someone does this, I think a lot of people would be surprised at how straight they need to feel their trail leg.
Definitely.
And maybe how much bend they might need to have in their lead leg to be able to actually do that.
Yep, and that's what permits the hips to turn. There's the flexing and straightening of the legs, and also turn on a tilted angle.
Yeah, I love that. And so in the beginning phases, that might be something where they just practice with this. If they're uncertain of maybe if you're doing it correctly or not, you can add the stick or a chair or wall.
Yeah, chair would be fine, and move your hips away from that. That's fine.
And then work their way up with the swing length. And that's perfect. And that's one of the ones, like we said, I mean, I say it every day, right? We say it every day in terms of that drill. It's one of the things you'd put on a small list if you said, hey, if you struggle with ball striking, struggle with getting the hands in enough,
struggle hitting it far and high, I mean, this would be one of the main things to do.
Likely high on your list.
Yes.
To do. And so that's the checkpoint. Those are the drill motions. I think that's pretty straightforward. Hopefully we gave you some visuals there. If you do want one of those three things, hitting it farther, hitting it better, higher, longer,
more right to left,
more draw.
Yeah.
That would be something we would suggest doing. So hopefully that guys help. Steve, thanks for coming out, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. If you liked the video, do us a favor, click that like button down below. It really helps us out. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you do want some more personal coaching from Steve and I, we would love to see you at CogornoGolf.com. We're going to put 2 cards on the screen. One of the cards here is going to be a similar video to the one you just watched. Give you a little more detail and info if you like these YouTube videos. If you do want more coaching, want to check out CogornoGolf.com, we'll include the logo here on the screen. Go ahead and click that and we'll see you there.